Hello and welcome to the Week 16 edition of the Pickwatch podcast. I am Casey Joyner, the football scientist. You may remember me from my 14-year stint with ESPN where I covered the NFL and fantasy football. I'm now on the independent path via my website, thefootballscientist.com, and I'm also doing a weekly pick'em article for Pickwatch. My Week 15 picks went 11-5, bringing my 2020 season mark to 152-71, or a 68.2% win rate that is tied for 8th highest among the more than 100 analysts tracked by Pickwatch. Here are my Week 16 picks. Each section details which team is predicted to win and provides a quick summary of why that selection was made. The picks also contain a confidence value for each selection based on a 1 to 10 scale, with 10 being the most confident and 1 being the least confident. Now on to the picks. Let's start with the Christmas Day matchup of Minnesota at New Orleans. The Saints and the Vikings have been on winning streaks prior to Week 14, but both these clubs have now lost 2 straight games. The problem in the Saints' case is a struggling rushing attack that has posted back-to-back games with under 100 rushing yards for the first time this season. New Orleans has also had trouble keeping opponents' ground games in check, as their 425 rushing yards allowed over the last 2 weeks is by far the most the Saints have given up in a 2-game span this year. That is not a good trend against a Vikings offense that has racked up 145 or more rushing yards per game for 3 straight contests and has scored 27 or more points in 4 of the past 5 games. So Minnesota is the selection here by a small margin with a confidence level of 3. Now we head to the first of a 3-game slate on Saturday, which is Tampa Bay at Detroit. Coming back from a 17-point halftime deficit to win was the main story for Tampa Bay in Week 15. But it's worth noting that the Buccaneers offense posted its 3rd highest passing yardage total, and Tampa Bay's defense allowed its 2nd lowest rushing yardage total of the season in that contest. These trends show that the Bucs are back to their early season success formula. Detroit interim head coach Darrell Bevell deserves a lot of credit for getting as much as he can out of a talent challenge club. But with the Lions having allowed 148 points over the past 4 games, Tampa Bay is the easy choice in this one with a confidence level of 7. Now we go to the second Saturday game of San Francisco at Arizona. The Cardinals offense had been in something of a slump while losing 4 out of 5 games from weeks 9 through 13, but they turned a corner over the past 2 contests by racking up 262 rushing yards, 654 passing yards, 48 first downs, and 59 points in that span. Arizona's defense didn't tally a takeaway in last week's matchup against Philadelphia, but that platoon has posted 2 or more takeaways in 5 of the past 9 weeks. That does not bode well for a 49ers offense that just can't protect the football, as San Francisco has tallied 16 giveaways in the past 5 weeks and has posted 2 or more giveaways in every game since Week 4. That penchant for making mistakes pushes this matchup in the Cardinals' direction by a fairly strong margin with a confidence level of 6. We close out the Saturday slate with Miami at Las Vegas. The Raiders look like a legitimate playoff contender where they were 6-3 in mid-November, but they have since lost 4 out of 5. The main culprit in this collapse is an abysmal defense, as Las Vegas has allowed an average of 36 points in that span and 400 or more offensive yards on 8 occasions this season. Miami's defense will put the silver and black to the test, as that platoon has given up fewer than 200 net passing yards in 4 of the past 6 contests and has 11 takeaways in the last 5 games. That last trend will likely be the Achilles heel for the Raiders, as Las Vegas has posted 11 giveaways over the previous month, so Miami is the pick here with a confidence level of 6. Let's kick off the Sunday slate with the New York Giants at Baltimore. The Ravens look like they were out of the AFC playoff hunt following the Wednesday afternoon Week 12 loss to Pittsburgh, but Baltimore has since run off 3 straight wins due in large part to rushing for 684 yards and racking up 121 points in that span. This caliber matchup couldn't have come at a worse time for the Giants, as Big Blue's offense has tallied a total of 13 points over the past 2 weeks and hasn't posted 20 or more points in the game since Week 10. Combine those elements with Daniel Jones battling an injury and this being a home contest for Baltimore, and the Ravens get this one by a wide margin with a confidence level of 8. Now we head to one of the less exciting matchups of Week 16, Cincinnati at Houston. Give the Bengals a huge amount of credit for keeping up the fight following a dismal stretch and putting up 27 points against Pittsburgh, despite missing their game-breaking running back and starting a 3rd-string quarterback against the Steelers. The Texans could use some of that moxie, as Houston has been outscored 89-47 in the 3 games following their Thanksgiving Day win over Detroit. Those trends might seem to point in the direction of the Bengals, but it's tough to overlook that Cincinnati has scored a single-digit point total in 3 of the past 4 games, and Houston has scored 20 or more points in 4 of the past 5. So the Texans are the choice here with a confidence level of 4. Now we go to Florida for the Chicago at Jacksonville matchup. The Bears have vaulted back to NFC wildcard contention via a powerhouse rushing attack that has tallied 368 yards over the past 2 weeks. That is part of a superb stretch that has seen Chicago post 629 rushing yards over the past month. The reason that the ground game hasn't led to more wins in that span is the Bears have allowed 27 or more points and 393 or more offensive yards in 3 of the past 4 contests. Chicago will get no sympathy from Jacksonville regarding poor defense, as the Jaguars have given up 1,742 offensive yards in the last 4 games and have allowed fewer than 27 points in only 2 contests all season. Add those elements to a struggling Jacksonville offense, and it pushes this pick well in Chicago's direction with a confidence level of 7. Next up is what could be a shootout, Atlanta at Kansas City. It's easy to knock the Falcons for the repeated in-game collapses. Yet, let's accentuate the positive and note that Atlanta is now in a 4-game streak of 300 or more passing yards, despite having Julio Jones available for only one of those contests. The problem for the Falcons is those yards aren't turning into points, as Atlanta has tallied 17 or fewer points in 3 of the past 5 games. Converting yards into points isn't an issue for the Chiefs, as Kansas City has posted 400 or more offensive yards 10 times and racked up 26 or more points in all but 2 games. Matt Ryan and company just won't be able to keep up with this skyrocket pace, so the Chiefs are the easy pick in this one with a confidence level of 8. This game looks a little more interesting than it would have looked a couple of weeks ago. Cleveland at the New York Jets. Cleveland looked like it would need a holiday miracle to win the AFC North following a Week 14 loss to Baltimore. But as Hans Gruber famously noted in Die Hard, Christmas is the time of miracles. The Browns' shutdown of the Giants' offense last week shows that Cleveland can win via a shootout or slugfest. That latter trait may be the route for the Browns to take, as after the Jets scored 23 points in the upset of the year over the Rams, New York has now scored 23 or more points in 4 of the past 6 games. Motivation looks to be a main factor in this one, as the Jets no longer have the push to avoid a winless season, and a victory by Cleveland could put them in a division-deciding Week 17 matchup against Pittsburgh. So the Browns are their selection here with a confidence level of 7. This is one of the top matchups in Week 16, Indianapolis at Pittsburgh. The Steelers are in the midst of what could end up as one of the all-time worst collapses in NFL history, as they have now posted 3 straight losses, with the third being against a Bengals squad that was starting a third-string quarterback. The Steelers' problems are myriad, as they have tallied fewer than 100 rushing yards in 8 of the past 9 games, have posted 9 giveaways in the past 5 contests, and racked up 0 takeaways in 2 of the past 3 matchups. That last factor could be the key to the Colts' success, as Indianapolis is 8-1 this season with their offense post 1 or 0 giveaways. Combine that with the Colts' defense that has tallied 2 or more takeaways in 4 of the past 5, and the Steelers having posted fewer than 20 points in 4 straight, and Indianapolis is the pick here with a confidence level of 5. This should be an intriguing matchup, Carolina at Washington. Washington's path to the NFC East title hit a bump in the road last week in a tough home loss to Seattle. But some solace can be taken by noting that the football team held Russell Wilson and the Seahawks' highly dangerous passing game to a meager 121 net passing yards. Washington's offense had its share of trouble in that contest by allowing 4 sacks and having its first game with 2 or more turnovers since Week 9. But the likely return of Alex Smith under center should solve a lot of those issues. Carolina has lost 8 of its last 9 games, but 4 of those defeats were by 5 or fewer points. Add it all up, but this is a true toss-up game, so Washington gets the pick due to home field advantage with a confidence level of 1. Now we head off to the AFC West for Denver at the LA Chargers. The Chargers look like they were ready to throw in the towel on the season following their 45-0 destruction at the hands of the New England Patriots in Week 13. Yet Anthony Lynn kept the Bolts together, and they now have a 2-game win streak that was put up against 2 solid opponents. Denver started off the year with a 3-4 mark, but the Broncos have now lost 5 of their past 7, due in large part to a Swiss cheese rush defense that has allowed 670 rushing yards in the past month. The Broncos have won 3 straight against the Chargers, but the trends here lean more in the direction of Los Angeles, so they get the pick with a confidence level of 2. Now we're off to the NFC East for what should be a highly entertaining matchup of Philadelphia at Dallas. It's tough to overstate the impact that starting Jalen Hurts has made to the Eagles' offense. In the 2 contests he has started, Philadelphia has posted back-to-back games of 400 or more offensive yards for the only time this season, and they have tallied 24 or more points in consecutive contests for the first time since Week 6. His presence has also fired up the Eagles' defense, as that platoon has posted 5 takeaways in that span. The Cowboys also seem to have turned a corner, as Dallas has racked up 30 or more points in 3 of the past 5 games and generated 7 takeaways on defense in the past 2 weeks. All these trends point to a high-scoring, turnover-filled contest that could go either way, but the big play presence of Hurts is enough to land this selection in the Eagles column with a confidence level of 2. Now we're off to the NFC West for the matchup of the LA Rams at Seattle. This is a de facto playoff game in many ways, as Seattle will clinch the NFC West title with a win, and the Rams will land a playoff berth if they are victorious. Seattle started the season letting Russell Wilson cook with a powerhouse passing attack, but they have won 4 of their last 5 despite throwing for fewer than 250 net passing yards in any of those contests. Los Angeles has also seen a decline in passing productivity, as the Rams have posted fewer than 200 net passing yards in 3 of their past 4, including only 189 yards in last week's epically embarrassing loss to the Jets. The key here is Seattle's passing decline as part of an intended move back to Pete Carroll's preferred power-centric attack, while the Rams are simply having consistency issues. So the Seahawks are the pick here with a confidence level of 3. This is the marquee matchup of Week 16, Tennessee at Green Bay. This game may be billed as Aaron Rodgers versus Ryan Tannehill, yet the reality is this matchup is a battle of heavyweight rushing attacks. Green Bay weighs in with a ground game that has posted 646 rushing yards in the past 4 weeks. Tennessee can more than counter this with 444 ground yards in the last 2 games alone, and 150 more rushing yards in 5 of the past 6 contests. Rodgers may be the more talented passer, but the combination of A.J. Brown and Corey Davis can keep up with Devontae Adams and whoever the Packers end up with as their second primary wide receiver. The gut instinct in this one says that Green Bay's defense is less suited to stop Derrick Henry than the Titans are to stop Aaron Jones. So Tennessee is the selection here by the smallest of margins with a confidence level of 1. We close out the Week 16 slate with what is kind of a dud of a Monday night matchup, Buffalo at New England. It wasn't very long ago that it looked like this matchup would have AFC East division clinching implications, but Buffalo's 4-game win streak and New England's 2-game losing streak means this contest is for pride and potential playoff seeding. The Patriots' defense has held opponents to fewer than 200 net passing yards in 4 straight games, but a lot of that is due to having allowed 644 rushing yards in that span. Buffalo's ground game has been hit or miss for much of the season, but the Bills just got through posting 182 rushing yards against Denver. Buffalo has also racked up 26 or more points in 6 straight games, while New England has hit that mark only 1 time in that same span. So the Bills are the obvious pick in this matchup with a confidence level of 7.